We're always told that to make a system safe, you just add backups. Simple, right? But what if that's not just wrong? What if it's the opposite of the truth? What if the very act of adding those backups is what makes an entire system fragile? And what if our attempts at creating safety are actually paving the way for a total simultaneous collapse?
It all starts with a belief that feels like pure common sense. It's a core assumption we make about how to build things that last, how to build for reliability.
I mean, think about it. Every complex system we rely on, whether it's an airplane's flight controls or the power grid for our cities, is in this constant fight against one thing: failure. The whole game is just to keep things running, even when a part breaks.
And the solution just seems so obvious, doesn't it? If one part might fail, well, you add another one to take its place. Maybe you even add a third one, just in case.
There is a technical term for this in engineering. It's called redundancy. It's this deliberate, intentional duplication of the important stuff. And the goal is totally rational. You want to increase the reliability of the system.
To really see how this is supposed to work, let's just imagine a simple physical structure. Okay, so a building that depends on just one single pillar, well, that's a huge risk. If that one pillar goes, the whole thing comes down. So logically, what do? You add more pillars. And with each new pillar, you're adding strength, you're adding stability. The load gets shared. And the risk, it feels so much lower. The system seems safer. And yet, we see this really disturbing thing happen in the real world. Systems with multiple backups, sometimes 3, even 4 layers deep, they still fail. And it's not just one part at a time. No, they fail all at once. The very thing that redundancy was supposed to prevent. A structure without any redundancy has a name. It's called fracture critical. It means a single broken piece can cause the entire thing to collapse. That's the state of maximum fragility we're trying so hard to avoid. So why does our solution seem to lead us right back to it?
So this contradiction, this gap between what we want to happen and what actually happens, it's not an accident. It's pointing to some kind of hidden logic, a structure that's operating just beneath the surface of the system.
And right here, the difference between theory and reality just becomes crystal clear. See, the whole idea of redundancy is built on one single assumption: that failures are independent events. But what we observe, is the complete opposite. It's not isolated failures, it's a cascade. So where does this all start? Well, it begins with a series of perfectly rational, totally logical decisions. To be more efficient, let's source all our parts from one supplier. To make things simpler, we'll run all our servers on the same software platform. And to cut down on costs, let's just put all our redundant systems in the same building. Each one of those choices, taken on its own, makes perfect sense.
But with every single one of those choices, something else is being created. Something that isn't on any of the blueprints. An invisible dependency. A hidden link between components that were supposed to be completely separate.
Let's go back to our structure for a second. We thought we were building multiple independent pillars, right? But what we were actually doing, without even realizing it, was building all of them on the exact same foundation.
And the consequence of that is devastatingly clear. We duplicated the parts, sure, but we totally forgot to duplicate the ground they were standing on. So now, the apparent strength of having all those backups, it's all resting on a single hidden point of vulnerability. This shared weakness, this shared vulnerability, it changes everything. It means those components don't have their own separate futures anymore. From now on, they have a shared fate. So that shared foundation, that one software platform, that single parts supplier, it starts to develop a flaw. A crack begins to appear. And now, a single event can defeat the entire system in one go. A lightning strike sends a power surge through a shared grid, and it knocks out 3 redundant control systems at the same time. Why? Because they were never truly isolated. One shock just bypassed all the backups.
This strange phenomenon, it actually has a name. It's called systemic risk. It's the risk of a cascading failure that doesn't come from the parts themselves breaking, but from the web of connections and dependencies between them.
And that's the key realization, isn't it? The safety we thought we had was all based on a lie, a false premise. The backups were just duplicates. They were never, ever truly independent. They were always connected, always sharing the same fate. Once this structure of hidden dependency is locked into place, the system starts moving towards a very predictable outcome. Its collapse stops being a question of if and becomes a question of when.
This is a state of lock-in. The cost to disconnect, to untangle everything, becomes way too high. Switching to a new supplier or a new software platform, it's impossibly expensive now, impossibly complex. The alternatives that were there in the beginning, they've all just withered away. The dependency is now irreversible.
And so, when that single point of vulnerability finally gets stressed beyond its limit, the foundation gives way. That single software bug, the single contaminated batch from the supplier, the single fire in the facility, it fractures.
And the entire structure collapses, taking every single pillar down with it. The system, with all its duplicated parts and all its layers of backups, finally reveals its true nature. It's not a collection of independent pieces. It is one single interconnected machine with one single fate.
And this brings us to the final and most critical insight. From the outside, it looks like a sudden, catastrophic failure. But from inside the logic of the system, it's not a failure at all. The collapse was simply the system following the rules of its own hidden structure. A structure we built, rational choice by rational choice, from the very beginning.